Welcome to video tutorial 4863 of 6000. What we have today is the creation of the notification system, and I figured it'd be easier to go over this with you while I'm creating the tables to explain a little bit about why I'm doing things. With the notification system, of course, we're expecting a user interface, templates, admin details, all those things. But at the basics, the notification system will simply be sending out information to the users from the events. And the idea here is that we wanted to provide, and I'll pull up the requirements here, is the user must be able to select the list of events. You can select what they want to be sent with events and how they want it to be sent later on. And we'll also be able to create many subscriptions with different notifications as well. And so that allows the user to be able to select one or more different groups of events for specific uses. And that could be something that when we have a carrier that has a dispatch system and the dispatcher wants to know when the entry is on file for a shipment, well then that's an event we can notify on and we could send them the bill of lading printout. However, the truck driver wants to know about those events, but wants to know a little bit different information. They want to be able to know that they can leave the port, and they may not need the bill of lading. They just want some text message being sent to them. So, two different events, two different options, and different delivery targets, and we want to make sure we can support that within the schema. So, also too is we can have subscriptions from a template, and again we were talking about our standard carrier notification versus dispatch. Etc. Yeah, whatever. You can select multiple events for a single notification. This is going to be helpful too, is because we don't have to. A lot of the events, for instance, we might have shipment held, shipment released or accepted. All of those events can have one specific notification, and that might be or an option. Whereas we want to be able to select all three of those and say, I want this notification to be sent, but I also want some of these options to be sent with them as well. So I want the shipment to be attached to it. And of course, there are some options that require user input. For instance, maybe we have a type, an option for type, and we allow for XML, HTML, X12, whatever, for that particular document. So we have to be able to show them a kind of an input box for that to be able to specify an option. But again, 5 of the events might be valid for sending out an XML copy or a PDF, and we want to be able to make sure that those events, you don't have to specify every single time for every one of those events you selected. So that's the reason why we're going to add these as kind of event options and parameters. So that gives you kind of an idea. Again, this is to notify our customers. We're going to look at somewhat of a logical layout with using subscriptions, and then we're going to link the options using a link table, and then we can select the options and put them in from a unique list. We can enter those options in, and then if there are any user input required. We have delivery targets that would be set up for FTP and email to start. And of course, we're going to do notification formats as options because we only have so many different notifications formats that are available for a particular option, and those options will have to be programmed in the particular notification processor. So this is not a one-size-fits-all notification system. ISF, for instance, will have its own processor for its own notifications. The same with the ABI system or eManifest system. So mixing the two notifications into a single email won't be possible, but we can definitely select multiple notifications and make sure that each one of those processors is going to look and it's going to pick those up and then process them. But since they are separate systems, we have no way of grouping them up. And that's a side effect of this, and maybe we could fix it down the road by some extra dynamic programming. But I wanted to keep this very, very simple and to the point, and I didn't want to. I wanted to use more of a small or microservice architecture where we're listening to these events and processing them with a very small class outside of the program. So we're not into the spaghetti code of if we have an ISF notification and we have a eManifest notification, group them together and blah 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 blah. So we'll deal with that later with the subscriptions. But for right now, all we're doing is trying to give the user the ability to subscribe to the event. How we process these is process the events that happen is done later. But right now it's just about the subscription. We'll start with that, and then we'll move on to the whole processing of the notification events. Maybe we can do something slick with adding some cool data to the event tables and then have that grouped up. Um, Something else we're also looking at doing is creating our own email server. And the reason why we're talking about creating our own email server is because this allows us to trace us connecting to the destination MX server. And then if it cannot be delivered, then we can queue it, re-queue it on our end, but we can also notify the user. The biggest problem we have today is we use an outside SMTP server that we dump off locally. It queues everything and then sends it, but then we have a problem with delivery. We don't know about it. We don't know that the mailbox was full at the other end and it threw a 500 error when trying to post the email information. All we knew was that there was some error somewhere, and then we have to go through 400 or 500 megs worth of logs for the day to find out which line particularly it was having the problem with, because of course the respond email is nobody at smartboarder.com, and nobody would read them anyway, even if it did bounce. So what this will do is allow us to feedback directly into the event system, and we can write an email delivery event that the user is able to see and say, hey, you know what? The user didn't get the message, and they didn't get that important FDA message that they could clear because of the issues that they had with the email server on their end. For SMS, we're also looking at using a gateway API, and that's called Amazon SNS, and we can use that system for sending out texts and things like that. Now, it does have an email gateway as well. I really haven't looked into it yet, but we do have to worry about these size restrictions. So if somebody wants if they check the option to say, I want to send the PDF file along with my ACE manifest data, or let's say if there was a flurry of activity and that ACE manifest data created a 100K document of all these different things because it was a huge customer and a bunch of shipments just cleared. We need to be able to set some sort of magic link up in order to redirect them. So here, click this link to get status information for this particular notification you just received a text for. That's going to be kind of cool because nobody else really does that, and they just kind of send small little messages out. But we can give them a full featured website for that. It's pie in the sky stuff right now. Again, let's worry about programming the actual subscriptions and setting that up and allowing the user to be able to select things, even though it doesn't work yet. We'll work on phase 2 of this later.